Alright, what are we gonna play today? Oh, hell yeah.
In 2007, Marvel released the single greatest superhero movie of all time. Ghost Rider, starring everybody's favorite guy, Nicolas Cage, came out to a resounding...
Okay, so while it wasn't the greatest thing ever made, alongside it released a PS2 game, and while the movie's release may have been kinda meh, the game, on the other hand... Huh. Well, I remember liking it. This is one of those games from my childhood. Alright, let's pop this baby in and see if it's as bad as IGN says it is. What the fuck?
In the mid-2000s, spectacle action games were all the rage, so much so that even Sonic the Hedgehog jumped in on it. With the Ghost Rider movie releasing, I guess Marvel thought Ghost Rider would be the perfect character to throw into the action game party, and it achieved some mixed results to say the least. The game starts with these rather ugly comic book style cutscenes. I get what they were going for, but it looks more lazy than stylized in my opinion, and oh boy, that is not Nicolas Cage.
Scraping at the door! Scraping at the door!
The basic gist of the plot is that the devil tricks Ghost Rider into going on a wild goose chase around the world, telling him that he must get rid of all the demons on Earth to prevent the apocalypse. But in actuality, Ghost Rider's bike trail was creating a glyph or whatever to open a portal between Hell and Earth so that the devil can cause the apocalypse and take over Earth. At the end, the devil's son, Blackheart, tries to take over his father's plan and turns into a random giant monster for the final battle. Ghost Rider puts a stop to it with little trouble, and he rides off into the sunset with his girl Roxanne, or whoever this lady's supposed to be. The game is vaguely connected to the same universe as the movie. It uses all the same characters, but they couldn't get any of the actors to do the game, so everyone looks and sounds like a bad parody of the movie counterparts. Sam Elliott narrates the whole game, or at least the guy they got to mimic Sam Elliott's voice. He's the only character they got that's almost spot on to how he looks in the movie, but it's definitely not him voicing the character.
I was hoping you'd do that.
I don't know, what do you think, Sam Elliott?
You see, fellers, it ain't gay if the cock is feminine.
Not what I asked, but okay.
I also noticed some poor audio mixing between the cutscenes and the gameplay. The cutscenes are a lot quieter than the game, so much so that I had my TV volume maxed out trying to hear Sam Elliott's voice in the cutscenes. Overall, the story presentation just feels like a cheap cash grab based on the likenesses of the movie. However, I didn't hate it. I find myself laughing at some of the stilted voice lines and goofy character art.
For what exactly?
The gameplay, like mentioned before, is a spectacle action game taking heavy cues from the God of War series. You go from level to level killing enemies, performing combos, gaining upgrades, all to improve your rank at the end of the stage. Ghost Rider can do light attacks, strong attacks, he's got a shotgun for ranged attacks. You combine all these things together to increase your combo rank. The combo rank goes from Damned, Condemned, Brutal, Avenged, Spirited, and finally, Vengeance. The higher your combo, the more these fire orb things will be worth. Also, it changes Ghost Rider's fire from yellow to eventually blue, and I think it looks quite nice when it's in action. You use your fire orbs in the upgrade shop that can be accessed anytime through the pause menu. You can buy upgrades to your attacks, your health, spirit charge, and the strength of certain attacks. You can also buy extras like comics or behind the scenes stuff for the game. The shop is hosted by Sam Elliott, and he's got something to say after every single upgrade you buy.
Done. Enjoy. Done. done.
Some enemies have these cages around them that can only be broken by achieving that combo level. The lower level ones are pretty easy to break, but the higher level ones sometimes can be almost impossible without using your link charge. Link charge is basically just a screen nuke, and if you use it on one of the enemies with the combo cages, then it almost always maxes out your combo.
Innocence will be avenged! Away!
Ghost Rider also has his trademark Penance Stare. You can use it by activating a Rage mode and pressing circle in front of an enemy. It's a guaranteed one-shot kill on any enemy, even bosses. Speaking of bosses, this game has tons. The first one is this big guy with pointy nipples. The thing with this game and bosses, unless they're like a named Ghost Rider villain, then you'll fight them as a boss one time, then the game will spam them as regular enemies everywhere. The only big name villains I caught the names for were Vengeance, Blackout, and Scarecrow. The rest of these guys...
Couldn't tell ya.
Duh. The enemy variety is actually pretty impressive. They introduce new enemies in almost every area, and most of them have unique attacks and animations. There's demons, and spiky dudes, and ninjas, and undead bikers, and clowns. Problem is that the enemies all have one sound effect to signal that they're about to attack, and when there's a crowd of the same enemies... After a while, I noticed that unlike God of War, or most action games in general, there's no puzzles or platforming, and thank God, because Ghost Rider has very heavy jumps, so I don't think platforming would have worked. So what does the game have to keep it from getting repetitive? Well, did you forget the intro? He's got a gosh darn motor vehicle, yeah! The bike levels are about less than half of the whole game. They're just linear obstacle courses full of enemies and big jumps, and that's about it. The control feels sloppy in general for both movement and combat. You can shoot ahead of you and attack to your immediate left or right. You can also slide under obstacles when needed. You get upgrades for the bike as you progress through the story and you do a little dance. You unlock a double jump, you can ride on the water, and finally you get a brief boost that I don't think was mandatory a single time in the entire game. As a whole, the bike levels are pretty basic, but I find them harmless, and I think it's pretty funny with the ragdoll death physics.
Alright, so what the hell's wrong with it?
While the game is fun, I don't think it's got anything that particularly stands out to make you drop everything to play it over something like God of War or Bayonetta. The combat works, but it feels clunky compared to some of those other games I compared it to. It's also pretty buggy. I had to reset the game a couple times due to falling through the floor and getting stuck.
The game is so bad, Ghost Rider doesn't even want to be here.
While the game is generic, it isn't bad. I enjoyed my entire playthrough apart from a couple glitchy restarts. It helps that the game is only 4 hours long, which is a plus in my book because I enjoy shorter games more in general, because if they're designed well, then they'll encourage replayability, and this game does. There's multiple difficulties and costumes and cheats and all that to keep you coming back. So I'd give this game a thumbs up, but it's nothing crazy. And that is still not Nicolas Cage.
It's bright as hell in here.